Welcome to the Sonny Thomas Show here on blogtalkradio.com/Truth Emerges Radio Network. Follow me on Twitter at Sonny Thomas Show and on Facebook at Sonny Thomas Show, and also follow our network Truth Emerges Radio on Twitter at Truth Emerges RDO and on Facebook at Truth Emerges RDO. A lot of things I want to cover since the beginning of October in this 2015 year. There's a lot of topics I'm going to try to cover in this particular update, so that way we can get stuff ready to go for a relaunch here in a couple weeks. Just some topics to note. Saw on the front page of the USA Today, I guess, it's basically saying that half of Americans polled would support a Muslim president. Really? We've already got one in the White House. The fucking son of a bitch would actually admit that he is one. He's clearly not a Christian in any way, because he does unchristian-like things. Even if you're a liberal Christian, you don't do half the shit that he does. I mean, it's interesting, some of these Catholics that are far left-wing Democrats, such as John Bon Jovi, who do not care for his politics in any way. Not only that, but his music has consistently sucked since 2002, if not a little bit before that. The last really good Bon Jovi, well, I wouldn't say really good. Well, yeah, it wasn't bad. The last really good Bon Jovi album that I got was Crush in 2000. It was also a really good tour. One thing I will say about Bon Jovi is they always do put on a really great show. It's like a rock and roll revival is the best way to describe it. But I haven't seen Bon Jovi since 2002, and their albums have consistently sucked since then, to the point where the only things that were good were the singles. Now, even the singles are shitty. I mean, the most recent single off the new album, I couldn't even tell you what it is, sucks ass big time. And especially after some of the shit that he's done and said and whom he supported, I will never, ever buy a new Bon Jovi album. If I do partake in any of his crap, I will either buy it used from a used record store, or more importantly, I would just do the typical sidetrack the liberal fucking shit and just go to the library, get the CD, and rip the tracks that I want for free and say, fuck you. I do that with Bruce Springsteen as well as Barbra Streisand. I can still appreciate the artist and their work. It doesn't mean I got to support their shit with my hard-earned dollars. You know what I mean? Matter of fact, I had gotten into a conversation with someone recently on the topic of tipping. There's a reason why it's called gratuity. Gratuity means giving thanks, or basically a high five for doing a good job. I remember my stepdad's father used to tell him all the time, if you can't afford the tip, you can't afford to go out. Well, I do not believe in that in any way, shape, or form. First of all, I did not tell you to go get that shitty job, and you're only going to get paid half wage, and then you got to try to make the difference on your tips, which most of them do not declare anyway. So essentially, they're skimming money. But I look at it this way. If you do a good job, I tip. And if you do a really good job, I tip fairly well. Because I work hard for my money. And I don't just give someone X amount of percent off the top. That's bullshit. I do not believe in that. And I really resent restaurants that automatically include a percentage into the bill for a tip. That is a tax. And that is something next time I just won't partake in your restaurant. I'll go somewhere else. So, again, somebody does a really good job, you know. One thing I have noticed places such as Skyline Chili is when they go back and ask how you're doing, how your food is, they wait till you get a mouthful of chili spaghetti and you have no way to respond but a couple of or you sound like Mushmouth off the Cosby Kids, man. I mean, that's yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about. You have no way to get any information out to let them know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? But anyways, Ben Carson bringing up the fact that no one would support electing a Muslim president. I have to say that's very interesting, because when presidential elections go on, you have to be careful for a couple things of what you say, because the things that you may put a stand or use as a pillar or a particular poll to get certain groups to gravitate towards you, such in this case conservatives and some neocons. You wage this propaganda war against ISIS and Islam and Sharia law, blah, 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 hoping that conservatives will obviously pick up on that and gravitate towards certain candidates or certain political people that are already in office for that particular reason. First of all, Sharia law is contradictory to Western law, so it should automatically by default be ruled out, because you cannot have two conflicting rules of laws in your country. It just doesn't work that way. So the bottom line is you have to make a decision. And since this country is founded on many things, and again, another controversy about the Ten Commandments being in the courtroom. First of all, I don't want some Jew law stuck in my courtroom, and we have to like somewhat, wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge to abiding by it. Fuck that shit. I look at it this way. If you are, it is a religious law for a particular group. I do not believe it belongs in a courtroom. However, it is a pillar of Western law. If that's the case, and most law is actually built around Roman law, which the British refined, then I would suggest if you're going to have the Ten Commandments displayed in a courtroom, you should also have the 12 Tables of Rome. You should also have the Magna Carta, which is the pretext to the Constitution. And you should have other forms that our Western-based law is backed on, displayed in the courtroom prominently. As well as, you should definitely have a copy of the fucking Constitution in the courtroom. Because these judges arbitrarily even say, I will not have the Constitution in my courtroom. Any judge that says that, you should immediately have a huge public backlash and say, this guy arbitrarily rules from the bench. He does not support the Constitution. You need to have him disposed of. And get rid of that son of a bitch, whoever it is. Because if you do not reflect the rule of the Constitution, then you have no business being up on a bench. And another issue I have, too, is judges and magistrates that are put into positions of power to decide over people's fates and are still allowed to practice law privately in their law firm or within a private practice, especially within the same county or an adjacent county. That is a serious conflict of interest. Hello. Wow, I just saw a serious speed trap. Yeah. Cop parked in someone's driveway, which is funny, I just commented about this the other day. Parked in someone's driveway halfway up in a rural area, hidden by trees with his parking lights on, and just waiting to spring on someone. That's definitely an issue. I think I will call the correct law enforcement agency and pitch a complaint and say that is a speed trap, and that is illegal in the state of Ohio, by the way. Unless they've bent the rules again since 9/11, and I have seen in many cases over the years, not only are they darkening up the vehicles, which means they're being militarized, using either charcoal gray, gunmetal gray, or just outright black and gray, like in Lebanon, and use it to hide in the shadows. It's Smokey and the Bandit shit for real, hiding behind signs. That's funny as shit. Nevertheless, so that's an issue there. So Ben Carson stirring up the fact that Americans do not elect a Muslim president. Well, they already have one who's falsely in that position of power in our White House currently, and no one's going to do anything about it because they're afraid of his skin color. This is absolutely disgusting. This is why it really scares me when you base people on gender, sex, and background, because they'll always use that as a card against you as a check. You'll never be able to criticize or do anything. So if Hillary gets in office, God forbid, you see she's already played it a couple times, that the biggest problem we have with that is that she'll always use a card. Oh, you're just messing on me because I'm a girl. You know what, bitch? If you ran for the fucking office, you are of the title. It doesn't matter if you've got a penis, a pussy, or a fake pectoral, man. Prosthetic limb. I don't give a shit, okay? You're in that position of power. You have that title. You take everything that comes with it. That's why when John Adams put out the Alien and Sedition Acts and they had a huge backlash over it, it was proper. Because of the simple fact that if you are in that position, you are warranted to be criticized in any way. However, you see how much times have changed. Can you imagine, especially after Pearl Harbor, can you imagine Clark Gable giving FDR hell about the way he's raging a war or doing any other domestic policy? He would not be king of Hollywood for very long. However, if you're a left-wing kook in Hollywood, you could talk shit about your president all you want, and if anything, get a high five. Now, dissent is the highest form of patriotism, Thomas Jefferson, and Ron Paul had actually quoted that on the back of one of his T-shirts. He is correct. But when you can't say anything about that sand nigger we have in the office, Barack Hussein Obama, a.k.a. real name Barry Soetoro, then there's a problem. Because if you cannot be able to have any type of criticism, you have a tyranny. I mean, the days of Woodward and Bernstein are gone. All we have as a check in any of the media is independent media. We're talking like Alex Jones, Ben Swan, even Adam Kokesh. I mean, you have some of these guys that are at least able to criticize properly and coherently and well-researched criticism. That's one of the things I love about InfoWars. Love him or hate him, Alex is a very smart businessman. He's built himself one hell of a news agency. And let me tell you what, just like when you watch an episode of ER, each character has proved themselves to be competent in their abilities. And let me put it to you this way. If you were wheeling a gurney onto that show, you know that any one of those characters, let's just say you're in that show, any one of those doctors in there, you know that you're going to get the best chance at dealing with your problem, whether it's a really painful experience or condition you're going through, especially if it's an injury, or some other condition. It doesn't matter if it's going to be Green or Ross or Benton or any of these guys. If you're wielding their ER and their trauma and they jump on you, especially if they double time it and both of them get on you, you know goddamn well you're going to get the best treatment possible. Which one thing I like about the show is it's not entirely accurate, but it's an excellent primer on the background of emergency medicine. And not only that, lover or hater, Weaver showcases a lot of the management that goes on within emergency medicine as well in a hospital, dealing with budgets, staffing issues, etc. And even though I love her or hate her, and most people hate her, she handles a lot of that stuff very well. She's got a very bulletproof demeanor and can deal with the stuff. But I'm very much interested in watching this new show, Code Black, with Marcia Gay Harden. It looks like it's going to be a very well-written show as well. But again, an excellent primer. The problem is, with Obamacare, who wants to get into medicine? I mean, really, everybody's getting the hell out. And that Trump supports universal health care, I understand the spin he's got on it. But the problem is, if you're not going to rally and say, I'm going to repeal Obamacare, you're going to lose a good half of your conservative base. I don't give a damn how Reagan-esque you sound with your tax plan or anything like that. You will not get the support of the conservative base. And again, it is fucking sad when you get someone like Donald Trump, who's the only one that sounds like a hardcore social conservative. It's disgusting. Every one of those candidates up there, including Trump, will bow down to Israel and AIPAC. At least Trump doesn't act like he does, even though he's got a lot of internal workings that would definitely show he would. He's not genuflecting Israel out of the bat like Carla Fiorina and all these other candidates. Even Rand Paul, we've got pictures of him in the beanie cap with the Wailing Wall, and he's already met with several Jewish groups. He's bought and paid for. He's somebody's bitch. Ron Paul would never do that. Ron Paul is a complete statesman, and he's an America first guy, not Israel before America. So that's the type of shenanigans that's going on with our candidates. I'm so disgusted with the higher echelons of voting that even though I'm in the GOP, maybe by default, I may consistently vote Libertarian and say publicly, I will vote Libertarian until you give me a Republican candidate that can even remotely match Ron Paul or is worth even looking at. Now, in the primaries, I am seriously considering, just because there is no other choice, if he's still in the race, I will vote for Donald Trump. Because what other choice is there? To send a resounding message to the RNC, you suck. Okay? But I'm a big supporter of the Libertarians' lawsuit over allowing third-party candidates to be allowed to be in the debates. It's the only way people are going to really feel like they have a real shot in the race of voting for somebody is going back to 1992 between Clinton, Bush, and Perot. You know, we need to have a third-party candidate that actually can find their ass in two hands. And it could really energize the debates, which Ron Paul did during the Republican debates. So it's very disgusting that out of 330 million Americans, we only have 17, 18 Republicans that we have, and none of them are really worth a shit. It shows you how debased the Republican Party is. However, with the ousting of Boehner, I think there's a larger plan going on here. I think they've got him out of the way so that way they can institute martial law a little bit easier. Because there may be one facet that he will not budge on, and so they saw it as a way to get him out. This McCarthy guy is very slick, and when he has a book called Young Guns with Paul Ryan and whoever the other guy is, it's clearly obvious he's a neocon. So he could talk smooth all he wants, but he's definitely part of the establishment. He just doesn't look like it. And when John Boehner immediately endorses him, you know where he stands. Okay. We need to get a coalition to start pushing for Justin Amash or Thomas Massey to be Speaker of the House. We get a libertarian-based Republican in there, I guarantee shit will hit the fan in a good way. But again, Boehner is an absolute disgrace to the sovereign state of Ohio. The worst Ohioan to sit on that position of power, and makes even Taft look golden, you know. But, you know, the bottom line is that he really made Ohio look like shit. And John Kasich is completely full of shit. Who's running the shop while he's out there parading and running for president? I mean, really, I've criticized him over and over on this. I need to get people in my GOP to start raising hell, which they're going to do on the next meeting. And I'm going to outright demand a vote that we renounce Kasich running for president. You should not be allowed to run for president while he's a sitting governor. I'm going to give a fuck if you're a lame duck. While you're in office actively, your focus is Ohio, you son of a bitch. Not running around saying, oh, I want to run for president. You know, even if you had a legitimate background and everything else, you weren't a Lehman Brothers lackey and all this other shit, you want to do it for an educational purpose like Ron Paul did. You know, still, I don't want you actively running for president when you need to be finishing up the bullshit that goes on here. And the shit he said, oh, I would defund Planned Parenthood. This and that. Bullshit, motherfucker. Look what you did in Ohio. You pushed for Obamacare through the back door and all this other shit. You would not defund Planned Parenthood. You would defund it maybe partially on the surface, but in the real workings that matter, you would still sign the damn bills funding it. So don't give me that shit. You're a liar. You're an absolute, complete fucking global establishment hack, and you're not worth a shit. All you did with Ohio is you just took all the money that was spread out from Strickland and put it in your own pile like Tony Montana and snort coke on the fucking damn table financially, and then borrow lots of money to pay for the unemployment fund, and then leaning on small business owners to fit the bill. That's exactly what you did, Kasich. That's exactly what you did. And you and Boehner and Barry got together and pushed Obamacare through the back door, which not only violated your promise that you signed, but also violates the Healthcare Freedom Act that we passed in Ohio, not to be forced into any federal or state mandated healthcare program. You are forcing them to do that piecemeal. So you are full of shit, and none of the real conservatives and Tea Party advocates are supporting your skank ass. So get the fuck out, buddy. That's all I got to say. All right, so I was trying to think of something else to talk about recently that I come across, and for some reason at the moment it has slipped the surly bounds of my incredible mind. So nevertheless, there is a lot of information on the St. Thomas Show page. I cannot stress that enough. And I want to thank my contributors so much because you are the lifeblood of my show, as well as you, the listener, not only can get that information and really educate yourself and others. And I have gotten a lot of feedback from people that says that the St. Thomas Show is definitely a blip on the radar screen in the information war. And I thank you so much for your comments, either publicly or privately. And some of my listeners have sent me some very wonderful private messages, so they've learned a lot. And even though sometimes they may not understand some of the issues or why I'm going that issue, for example, on white rights, but even some of my colleagues on the Truth Emerges Radio Network have seen some of this stuff for themselves and have also been victims of white privilege and said, I get it. Now I get it. I understand why. We better, as white people, start standing up for ourselves, because we are becoming a minority in our own country, in our own countries, in Europe. Oh, that's the thing I want to discuss. In Germany, there's a huge nationalist revolt against the hordes of invaders coming into Deutschland. And if anything, it's starting to underscore Hitler's stance more and more and more. Just like I said before he died, one day you understand that I was right. And people all across Europe are starting to understand that Hitler was right on many issues. And most people I talk to, even generally poli-sci, general conservatives who at least are awake, and historians finally agree Hitler was right on many topics and many issues. They all agree unanimously that the way he did it was fucked up or wrong or a little bent, but some of it was because being an autocratic head of state, you don't have very much resources to cull from to make a really good decision, and his own physician was actually poisoning him with his concoctions. So clearly, obviously, many of the issues and strategies that he put together were brilliant, even though some of it were other people's and he just took the name for himself. Well, that's the problem when you deal with an autocratic dictator. He probably is going to lay claim to a lot of the shit himself, especially if it's a victory. But nevertheless, you go back and listen to his speeches, man. Hitler was right on many topic, calling the international jewelry and the international cliques and the banksters that were running a lot of the shit dead on. Matter of fact, his criticisms of FDR and the Lend-Lease Act and everything else, dead on accurate, and he was proper to criticize it in the manner in which he did. Again, we're finding out that the Holocaust really didn't happen as perpetuated, and the poor me syndrome of Jews and international Jews in Israel using that is starting to become the hoax that it is, and people are starting to question it. So the holo-hoax, hashtag holo-hoax, is gaining a lot of steam, as well as the 9/11 Truth Movement. The problem with the 9/11 Truth Movement is you have to be very careful of false prophets within the movement, because they're purposely designed to discredit it and some of its leaders and to make them look stupid and have a pie in the face. Or when they really do hit on a subject that matters, they try to discredit them to bypass their argument. You know, one thing I have learned is some of these left-wingers, the conservatives will go and attack someone's background or something they did in the past as a distraction. I at least listen to the message, because I tell you what, the libs bitching about the war on drugs and to legalize and decriminalize, a lot of libertarians are for the same thing, and when you really listen to some of their arguments, they are correct. If you want to understand the actual fake war on drugs, check out two documentaries, American Drug War, and the second one that Alex Jones did, How Weed Won the West. Again, not my cup of tea, but when you understand the basic prohibition nature that it is, it makes perfect sense. Artificially inflates the price of drugs, and it also keeps a perpetual black market, which the CIA makes money off of. So you always have to follow the money. In any situation, always follow the money. All right, well, this is a fairly long, extensive vlog, but I think I covered a lot of issues. But the bottom line is, look at some of the issues that the candidates are saying. Sometimes they do it with a reverse psychology effect, such as what's happened with Ben Carson and the issue about the Islam and an Islamic president, and also other issues as well. But the biggest issue is we as whites need to support our people in our own homelands. We need to have homelands. Why is it the Japanese can have a homeland? Why is it that India can have a homeland? Why is it that Zimbabwe can have their own homeland, or Brazil have their homeland, but any white-based countries is a homeland for everyone? These are issues that we have to have. It's called white genocide, and we need to start talking about it and not be afraid of being called a racist, a Nazi, a hater. When they start calling you that, you done won the argument. That's for sure. All right, Salam to Mahath, and definitely check out our page at facebook.com/Sonny Thomas Show. Follow me on Twitter at Sonny Thomas Show, and go to sonnythomas.com, as well as our advocacy page to Air Alex Jones on WHIO and WKRC on Facebook. Look up Air Alex Jones, WHIO.WKRC. Give us a like, forward the material, and push for it. And also follow us on Twitter there at Alex Jones, WHIO. Or it's Air Alex Jones, WHIO. Actually, I haven't looked at it in a while. But we have a lot of information from InfoWars that goes on there as well. Always a tip of the hat to David Knight from InfoWars. Always enjoy your commentaries, sir. And follow him on Twitter at Libertarian. I do believe. And if not, just look up David Knight of InfoWars on Twitter, and you'll probably find it exactly. All right, so I'm out of here. I will see you guys in a couple of weeks. We have part 3 of the Jewish question. Will be aired next week with my host, Catastrophe, as well as the Disaster Report with Space Cadet. This week, definitely always welcome Corinne Smith. And again, I want to thank you always to my contributors, Toto, Space Cadet, Bubble Tea, Corinne, and soon we're going to add Patricia Atkin, who was our guest last week, and looking forward to her contributions as well to understand Zionism and the Jewish question on a regular basis, and all that good stuff. So make sure you follow us on Sonny Thomas Show and see who posts our stuff, because there's a lot of good information there. All right, Maddie, Sláinte my thing. Catch y'all in a couple weeks with a totally rebooted show, and we've got a whole laundry list of wonderful guests that are going to really inform us and hopefully gets going on. And I do not support Bab Bellinger in the Springboro School Board race. Again, I posted a story about it recently. I'll do a vlog on that separately. Salud.